Good day. My name is Ross Hughes, and I am a reference librarian at the Amelia branch of the Clermont County Public Library, and this is For the Birds. Today we'll be talking about bird behavior in the late summer and early fall, talking about what sort of birds that you'll see, and some advice for getting started in the exciting hobby of bird watching. Ohio has been the home to about 421 species of bird. They haven't always they don't always live here on a regular basis. Some of them have just been seen kind of out of the ordinary. But of that 421 species, 300 have been found to at least cross through Ohio on a yearly basis. 180 of those species breed in Ohio, and then 1/3 of that number migrate to their winter homes in Central and South America. The beginning of the summer, the songbird activity will begin to slow down as the breeding season begins, or they're in the process of hatching. If you think about it from a practical point of view, singing is going to attract predators, and if they've already attracted a mate, then singing is less important because birds still use song to communicate, but they do use it for attracting mates. And here are some common Ohio songbirds in no particular order and not a comprehensive list. But I think you will all be able to recognize the American robin, as you can't go very far without seeing one of those. And next to that is our state bird, the northern cardinal. Now you may notice something interesting about the cardinals that you see in this picture. The one on the right side is very brightly colored. The one on the left is not. Still some red, but definitely not nearly as vibrant. Why is this so? Well, for those of you not in the know, some species of birds display what's called sexual dimorphism. In other words, the males and the females of this particular species will look different in one way or another. In this case, you'll see that the females' feathers are far less vibrant than the males. And of course, the male uses its brilliant feathers to attract mates. Here are a few more that frequent our area. First one on this slide is a personal favorite of mine. It's the Tufted Titmouse. And the reason why is so adorable. I mean, look at that. Now, you don't see these as often as, say, your cardinals or your robins or your blue jays. And in fact, they can be confused for blue jays, as was what I originally did. But they do live here year-round, and they are just a delight to see. The song sparrow has a very melodious song. That's why it's called the song sparrow, and also why its Latin binomial nomenclature, its Latin name, is M. melodia. Now, I don't know how many people like this particular bird, but for me, I have a special place for it because it reminds me, when I hear the song of a mourning dove, it makes me know that spring isn't that far away. And here are a few more show-offs. Of course, you can't go very far without seeing a blue jay. Perhaps not nearly as common as a cardinal or a robin, but still very common and hard to miss. And then you'll see down at the bottom of this slide another bird which is hard to miss, but you may not see nearly as often, and that is a summer tanager. In fact, I haven't seen these. I haven't seen these in years past. According to the guides that I've looked at, they do come as far north as southwestern Ohio, but that's the limit. of their migration. So they're a little bit more rare, but once you see them, you can't forget it. And then there's the black-capped chickadee. The chickadee has a song which is very unique, but I'm not going to reproduce it here. So moving on to July and August, you'll hear little or no songbird activity, although sometimes certain species of birds will teach their young how to sing. So because birdsong does have so many different roles, one of which is communication. In late June and early July, we should begin to have fully fledged babies. That means they have all of their feathers. But meanwhile, molting begins for the adults. Now, this is a very vulnerable time. The colors of feathers are less vibrant. They'll look scruffy because all of their feathers are being replaced. So it's kind of like shedding your skin in a way. As you can see from the picture of the blue jay, they definitely don't look very impressive. And as I said, it's a vulnerable time. As their feathers are falling off, they'll become less agile in flight, or in some cases, they won't have the ability to fly at all. At this time of year, early morning is best for observation. And in fact, if you're a morning person, you'll do very well as a bird watcher. As for myself, I'm more of a late evening sort of person, where you can catch a lot of birds as well. September marks the peak of the songbird migration, and you may even see fledglings in flight. Species that are not seen here earlier in the year have routes that run through Ohio in September. Goldfinches are easily seen preparing for the winter. The ruby-throated hummingbird is on its way to warmer climes. If you're interested in hawks and different types of birds of prey, this is a great time to observe them. And because the molt has by this point finished, but they may still have some different colored feathers, this is a great time for practicing your bird watching skills beyond just being able to identify them by the color of their feathers. So let's say you want to get started bird watching. It's easy to get started. Requires few special tools, but you can go all out. Now, at the very least, you're going to need a pair of eyes and ears and plenty of patience. But let's be honest, you'll want to go deeper once you get started. And just a word of note, bird watching goes both ways, so be careful out there. One of the first things that you'll want to do once you get started bird watching is find a identification guide. There are plenty that are available for purchase online, but why do that when there's a lending library in town? Here are a few books that I personally suggest. There are two field guides to birds. One's the Sibley guide and one's the Peterson guide. There are some other ones, but these I find to be particularly helpful. The illustrations are crisp, and they have the same they'll have the same information but they might present it a little bit differently. I personally like the Sibley guide. I prefer Sibley over Peterson, but that's just a matter of personal preference. And then another book, which is it's not a bird identification book per se, but What It's Like to Be a Bird by David Allen Sibley is a very fascinating book, full of trivia and new knowledge for the bird lover. Now, you should definitely check out an identification guide from the library. We all know that in this day and age, you don't need to have a book on you in order to identify birds. All you need is your smartphone and an app. There are two apps that I suggest. One is called Merlin, which is created by the Cornell Ornithology Lab. This is pretty neat because you can contribute your findings to a database, which helps scientists, and you can hear examples of bird song. And Audubon also has an app which is very similar to that, very similar to Merlin, and I suggest both of them. Download both of them and see which one you prefer. So let's say you're tired of squinting at birds in the distance. Go and buy a pair of binoculars. 7 to 8 times magnification is what's suggested. I have a 7.5, and I find it very easy to use. Although sometimes when you're looking at stuff with binoculars, your hands tend to shake a little bit. And there are like monopods and that sort of thing that you can use to anchor it to the. You can use them to anchor them to the ground. But I haven't gotten that far yet. While you can have birds, just come to your backyard and watch them, you can also go to some places that are known for the wide variety of bird species. In this area, there's East Fork Lake, Shiloh Lock 34, Spring Grove Cemetery, and the Edge of Appalachia Preserve, which is located in Adams County. You can also watch live feeds of bird feeders online. I know Cornell University has a very nice one, and it's quite helpful because you can learn how to identify birds in the comfort of your own home. And if you're having a case of insomnia, you can watch the birds fly back and forth. It's quite soothing, and you can find a bird feeder. I was going to say you can find other live feeds of bird feeders just on YouTube. But there is one thing that I need to warn you guys about. So when I originally came up with this presentation, I was going to show you all how to build a basic birdhouse. About a week ago, I read some news that there is a disease that's affecting jays, grackles, starlings, and house sparrows. They don't know the cause of it, but the symptoms are disorientation, bulging, and crusting eyes. They have tested birds; they're negative for the flu or West Nile virus. So if any of you are worried about the next big pandemic, let that set you at ease somewhat. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources suggests taking down bird feeders and baths, as these are places where birds congregate. So birds also need to socially distance. Now, if you have bird feeder up or bird bath, clean them. Clean them with 10% bleach solution and pack them up for next year. If you happen to find a diseased or a deceased bird, contact a local wildlife rehabilitator, and those are listed on the Ohio DNR website. Let's hope that this particular problem passes quickly and we can find out what the cause is. Thank you for watching. I hope today's presentation has given you some insights into the lives of birds in this area, as well as piqued your interest in bird watching. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at the email address right in the middle of your screen in bright red. Until we meet again, farewell and be well.